French Jesuit missionary Father Marquette traveled through Lake Huron and Lake Michigan and into Green Bay to explore and map the northern portion of the Mississippi River Valley. In 1675, Father Marquette traveled westward one last time at the age of 37. Let's learn more about his final journey and continue a deep dive into the significance of the Mississippi River.
Jacques Marquette was born in 1637 of an old and honorable family at Lyon in the north of France. When about 17, he had joined the Jesuits, evidently from motives purely religious, and in 1666 he was sent to the missions of Canada. Marquette spent the winter and the following summer at the mission of Green Bay, still suffering from his malady. In the autumn, however, it abated, and he was permitted by his superior to attempt the execution of a plan to which he was devotedly attached, the founding, at the principal town of the Illinois, of a mission to be called the Immaculate Conception, a name which he had already given to the river Mississippi. He set out on his errand on the 25th of October, accompanied by two men named Pierre and Jacques, one of them who had been with him on his great journey of discovery. A band of Potawatomis and another band of Illinois also joined him. The united parties, 10 canoes in all, followed the east shore of the Green Bay as far as the inlet then called Sturgeon Cove, from the head of which they crossed by a difficult portage through the forest to the shore of Lake Michigan. November had come. The bright hues of the autumn foliage were changed to rusty brown. The shore was desolate and the lake was stormy. They were more than a month in coasting its western border when at length they reached the river Chicago, entered it, and ascended about 2 leagues. Marquette's disease had lately returned, and hemorrhage now ensued. He told his 2 companions that this journey would be his last. In the condition in which he was, it was impossible to go farther. The 2 men built a log hut by the river, and here they prepared to spend the winter, while Marquette, feeble as he was, began the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, and confessed his 2 companions twice a week. Meadow, marsh, and forest were sheeted with snow, but game was abundant. Pierre and Jacques killed buffalo and deer and shot wild turkeys close to their hut. There was an encampment of Illinois within 2 days' journey, and other Indians passing by this well-known thoroughfare occasionally visited them, treating the exiles kindly, and sometimes bringing them game and Indian corn. 18 leagues distant was the camp of 2 adventurous French traders, one of them a noted coureur de bois, nicknamed La Toupin, and the other a self-styled surgeon. They also visited Marquette and befriended him to the best of their power. Urged by a burning desire to lay, before he died, the foundation of his new mission of the Immaculate Conception, Marquette begged his 2 followers to join him on a novena, or 9 days' devotion to the Virgin. In consequence of this, as he believed, his disease relented. He began to regain strength, and in March was able to resume the journey. On the 30th of the month, they left their hut, which had been inundated by a sudden rise of the river, and carried their canoe through mud and water over the portage which led to the Des. Marquette knew the way, for he had passed by this route on his return from the Mississippi. Amid the rains of opening spring, they floated down the swollen current of the Des, by naked woods and spongy saturated prairies, till they reached its junction with the main stream of the Illinois, which they descended to their destination, the Indian town which Marquette calls Kaskaskia. Here, as we are told, he was received like an angel from heaven. He passed from wigwam to wigwam, telling the listening crowds of God and the Virgin, paradise and hell, angels and demons, and when he thought their minds prepared, he summoned them all to a grand council. It took place near the town, on the great meadow which lies between the river and the modern village of Utica. Here 500 chiefs and old men were seated in a ring. Behind stood 1,500 youths and warriors, and behind these, again, all the women and children of the village. Marquette, standing in the midst, displayed 4 large pictures of the Virgin, harangued the assembly on the mysteries of the faith, and exhorted them to adopt it. Their temper of his auditory met his utmost wishes, They begged him to stay among them and continue his instructions, but his life was fast ebbing away, and it behooved him to depart. A few days after Easter, he left the village, escorted by a crowd of Indians, who followed him as far as Lake Michigan. Here he embarked with his 2 companions. Their destination was Michilimackinac, and their course lay along the eastern borders of the lake. As in the freshness of advancing spring, Pierre and Jacques urged their canoe along that lonely and savage shore, the priest lay with dimmed sight and prostrated strength, communing with the Virgin and the angels. On the 19th of May, he felt that his hour was near, and as they passed the mouth of a small river, he requested his companions to land. They complied, built a shed of bark on the rising ground near the bank, and carried thither the dying Jesuit. With perfect cheerfulness and composure, he gave directions for his burial, asked their forgiveness for the trouble he had caused them, administered to them the sacrament of penitence, and thanked God that he was permitted to die in the wilderness, a missionary of the faith and a member of the Jesuit Brotherhood. At night, seeing that they were fatigued, he told them to take rest, saying that he would call them when he felt his time approaching. 2 or 3 hours after, they heard a feeble voice, and hastening to his side, found him at the point of death. He expired calmly, murmuring the names of Jesus and Mary, with his eyes fixed on the crucifix, which one of his followers held before him. They dug a grave beside the hut, and here they buried him according to the directions which he had given them. Then, re-embarking, they made their way to the Michilimackinac to bear the tidings to the priests at the mission of St. Ignace. In the winter of 1676, a party of Kiskakan Ottawas were hunting on Lake Michigan, and when in the following spring they prepared to return home, they bethought them, in accordance with an Indian custom, of taking with them the bones of Marquette, who had been their instructor at the mission of Saint Esprit. They repaired to the spot, found the grave, opened it, washed and dried the bones, and placed them carefully in a box of birch bark. Then, in a procession of 30 canoes, they bore it, singing their funeral songs, to St. Ignace of Michilimackinac. As they approached, priests, Indians, and traders all thronged to the shore. The relics of Marquette were received with solemn ceremony and buried beneath the floor of the little chapel of the mission.
Recently, in 2018, residents of Saint Ignace, some of them descendants of those led by Marquette to the mission, became aware that an ounce of Marquette's bones was located at Marquette University in Milwaukee. 2 Native American men arrived at the university and were presented with Marquette's bones, which they placed in a birch box for the return to Saint Ignace. Following a ceremony, the bones retrieved from the university were reburied with the rest of Marquette's bones in 2022. A Michigan historical marker was erected at the place of his death near the modern-day town of Ludington. It reads, Father Jacques Marquette, the great Jesuit missionary and explorer, died and was buried by 2 French companions somewhere along the Lake Michigan shore on May 18, 1675. He had been returning to his mission at St. Ignace, which he had left in 1673 to go exploring in the Mississippi country. The exact location of his death has long been a subject of controversy. A spot close to the southeast slope of this hill, near the ancient outlet of the Père Marquette River, corresponds with the death site as located by early French accounts and maps and a constant tradition of the past. Marquette's remains were reburied at St. Ignace in 1677. In the early 20th century, Marquette was widely celebrated as a Roman Catholic founding father of the region. Several communities and place names throughout the area to this day bear his name. I'm Mark Vinette, and I hope you're enjoying the ride.